Oh, hello, nice to meet you.
You too. I would have said hi at the premiere afterwards, but the crowd kind of just disappeared. Everyone went really quick.
Oh, don't worry, don't worry. I mean, I know what these things are like.
You go to
They're
a few.
well, no, not that many. But I mean, I've been to a couple. Yeah, but I mean, also, I suppose there's no fault. We don't know. You don't know what you're supposed to do at the end. You just all
Mm,
sort of shuffle out. It's a bit
yeah.
weird.
Well, I said the bar area was closed, so I thought, okay, I guess we're not having drinks here.
Yes, yes. Did you get the after show?
No, I didn't know there was one.
No, there was an after show at the where is it? Sanctum Hotel.
Ah, okay. Ah, well, I
I only
would
went
have
for a
if
bit,
I'd
and I
known.
don't drink, so I don't drink, so it wasn't like a big hoo ha. But yeah, it was weird. Well, not weird. It's just just a hotel full of journos and a few famous people.
Yeah,
As
it's
these things.
yeah, people showing face, really, isn't
Yeah, yeah.
it? Okay, so hi, I'm Xander from GhostCon UK, and you are,
Jim Parsons, I am.
and you do.
Well, I produce and direct music content. I suppose that's what the proper word for it is now. But mostly, I do uh, music concerts and um, long form stuff as opposed to music videos. Sorry, I couldn't get my words out there. So yeah, mostly kind of concert films, I suppose.
Okay, which I had a quick look at your resume actually on your website, sporadic.tv,
Mm.
which is pretty cool. Coldplay, Muse, Rolling Stones, Status Quo, Def Leppard, Led Zeppelin, Genesis,
Yeah.
Mason, Slash,
Well, some
Metallica,
of yeah, I
Megadeth.
mean, some of it I've directed, some of it I've produced, some of it I've done both. But yes, I have had I've done a lot of things, a lot of exciting stuff. I suppose, yeah, it's that strange thing when it's your job. You every now and again you look at it and go, "Blimey, that's impressive." How did that happen?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not limited to rock either. You've got Shakira, Beyonce, Miley Cyrus, Ed Sheeran, Robbie
Yeah.
Williams, Sam Smith, and
Well,
my
I would love.
favorite three. I'll just say my favorite three: Bill Bailey, Steps, and Kylie.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cornucopia. I mean, I would, given the choice, I would love to do more rock, just do rock because that's my thing. But I guess it's like anybody else. You take the work that comes along, and it's nice to be called back. So yeah, I've done. Yeah, when you read it out, I have done quite a lot of pop stuff. I've done JLS 3 times, I think. I've done One Direction 3 times. I've done Westlife once. Miley, Beyonce. Although Beyonce's never been released, so
Oh, really?
it's sort of I filmed it. That formation tour's never come out, well, not yet anyway, not that I'm aware of. Um, which is weird because I probably worked on that for and shot as many shows, if not more shows, than anything else I've ever done. I was out on the road for 3 or 4 months
Okay.
altogether. Yeah, we shot Texas, we shot New Orleans and Houston with lots of cameras, and then we shot 6 or 7 shows in Europe with 4 or 5 cameras, and then another 5 or 6 shows in America with between 2 and sort of 6. Yeah, I mean, incredible amount of filming. As yet, still in the can somewhere.
Okay. They paid you for it though.
Yes, oh yes, yeah, yeah.
That's all right
That's
then.
not it. I'm not complaining, but it's funny because you film stuff and you want people to see it.
Mm, yeah, yeah. That's a weird position because it's although you made it, essentially it's not your product; it's the customer's product.
No, and you are yes, and as you say, you are filming someone else's baby. It's not your show; it's their show. You're just there to capture it,
Mm,
which has its pros and its cons.
yeah, I guess maybe they're waiting for when she takes a break for a decade or something, and then there's something to release
Yeah,
to bring in the money.
I'm sure they'll do something with it. But yes, I've no, I don't know the policy. I mean, they've done stuff since then because that would have been 6 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. No, maybe 8 years. I don't know. Time speeds up when you get old, doesn't it? Goes really
Yeah,
slow when you're 7, and
yeah,
then when you're 20, it's a bit faster. And by the time you get to my age, it's whizzing.
especially when you have kids.
Yeah. Yes.
The saying is, the days are quick, but the years are short. No, wait, no, that's
Yes.
not right, is it? No,
No. Other round. Other round.
the days are long, the years are short. That's it.
Yeah. That's the way round. Yes.
Okay, so let's move on to the movie right here, right
Hmm.
now for Ghost. So I guess where did it start? Who approached who? How did you get involved?
I I've known of and sort of known Jonas Ackerlund, the director and one of the producers on the film, who also is a director and has done an amazing body of incredible work. Music videos, Smack My Bitch Up, Madonna videos he's done. He did the brilliant film about Mayhem and Euronymous. What's it called?
Masters of. Is it Masters of?
Something like that. The one with anyway, the film about the Norwegian death metal church burning and all that. He made that movie, which I thought was terrific. Anyway, so Jonas I've known of and sort of known a bit for a long time, and we were talking about filming another band beginning of last year, and then we started talking about doing the Ghost stuff. And he's Swedish, friends with Tobias. They've known each other a long time, so he introduced me to Tobias as a potential director, and it happened quite quickly. Suddenly, I was doing some stuff at the beginning of last year. I did some stuff with Metallica for Amazon, and then in the summer of last year, I was consulting for their Trafalgar releasing Dallas shows, those that they did for cinema release from Dallas. So I was actually in America and Canada with Metallica for a few weeks, and so I'd be talking to Kristen and Rick from management for a while about working on the film, but kind of as a producer to start with. And then Jonas went, "You should do the directing. I can't do it. It's not going to work out for me. You should direct it." So I was like, "I'd love to. Absolutely amazing." So and then while I was doing the Metallica stuff, Kristen said, "Come and see a show." I went in between two of the Metallica dates. I went to Denver and saw the show, met Tobias, had a chat, and that was kind of it. I'd love to say that all jobs were that easy to get, but this one kind of landed. It almost, landed on my lap. It was, I think, because obviously, Jonas's reputation is enormous, and he's good friends with Tobias, and Tobias, obviously, if someone recommends you and they're a friend and someone you admire, then you kind of go fine. So, and I met him backstage at his Denver show. We had a chat, and I think we just kind of clicked on a creative and musical level. Like I said, what's your favorite concert films? And he said, Live After Death, Song Remains the Same, that kind. And I was like, yeah, same, all the same sort of stuff that I loved as a kid. And we talked about music, and we just kind of got on. And he was like, great. So that was probably I'm trying to think, that was 6-8 weeks before the show.
Oh.
It wasn't that far ahead. I mean, I think the decision to film it had been made perhaps even before the tour started, a long time back. And he was already talking to Alex about the narrative, and Jonas was involved in the narrative. But that was the point where they said, "Will you direct the live concert?" And I said, "Yes." I was very happy to. Of course.
Mm-hmm. So you're strictly the live side of the film, which is probably a good 95%.
I don't know. I mean, probably not 95, but I mean, it's a funny one because in a way, because concert films, yes, the bit that people focus on is the bit that isn't the concert, I suppose, because not focus on, but the bit that people talk about is the non-concert bit, because concerts are all relatively similar. There's a stage and there's a band and there's cameras pointed at it. So it's to try and do something completely different with the concert is, I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it's, you've got to film what's in front of you. So you can't change it and you can't do too many crazy things.
Yeah, well, I think that's a key thing you've just said there, filming what's in front of you. And what you've done is move the camera. So it's not literally the crowd audience.
Yeah, I mean, it's yes, it is. As I say, it's filming an event that someone else has put on, and in the case of Ghost, I'm sure you and your viewers know, it's not like a lot of concerts where it's a concert. It's very conceptualized and it's thought through, and there's there's a narrative and there's a flow, and it's, you know, Tobias is I remember saying to him early on, the devil's in the detail, which is what another director said to me years ago about an edit. And it is, you know, everything that show's about and everything, the way the show works is thought through and there for a reason. So you know, when you put in front of it, you've got to capture it.
Mm. So did you have a kind of tick list of things that you needed to achieve?
I mean, yes, yes and no. I don't have a tick list. I don't have a list that I could show you of things I need to achieve. But there's a process and a formula, I suppose, to it. I mean, interesting. You know, Jonas and Tobias had talked about camera positions prior to me being involved. So there wasn't a finished camera plot, but there were some thoughts about how to do it. And Tobias at the premiere referenced that shooting from one side and the other side, moving cameras from left to right, so you don't shoot at each other, was part of it. And then, yeah, the format really is, you know, you go and see the show. I watched the Denver show, and they sent me a video of a couple of other shows, and you watch the show and you look at what's happening, and you know, without making it sound like it's really easy, you follow the action. You know, it's filming music is I always think when you watch stuff, there's two ways of approaching it. One is to say what you see. So if there's a drum roll, see a drum roll. The guitar solo, see a guitar solo. The other is to try and be really clever. And I go with the former, which is, you know, it's music. So if you cut away from the singer too much when he's singing, it's weird, because that's what the song's about. Yeah. If you don't show the guitarist and the drummer when they're doing their bits, it's a bit weird. But equally, you try and make it interesting and look for different camera angles and get the energy of the audience and the band. But is there a checklist? I mean, the way I go through the set list and I try and give each song. I often give it a title, or, you know, I'll say this one is dark and this one's light and this one's evil, so that you give the cameramen some sort of, sounds so pretentious when I say this out, you give the cameramen some sort of focus as to what they're doing. But equally, you can't look at all the cameras all the time. You know, even this is not the biggest shoot I've done, but it's 13 cameras. You can't look at 13 cameras all the time. So you have to give the cameramen some autonomy and some creativity and let them do what they're going to do. In the same way that, you know, I'm sure if you're in the band, if you're one of the ghouls, you get told what to play, but there is a certain amount of performance that you put yourself in. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, a bit of artistic freedom. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
artistic direction.
Yeah, I mean, cameramen are, and you know, I have a great team that Fortress Productions put together for me. That you know, they're good at shooting gigs and they're good at seeing things, and they are, you know, you're giving it as a director, you're an overview. You have to remember that each camera has a specific angle and can only see some stuff. So you have to say to them, show me what you can see, you know, and find the interesting shots. And then, you know, then you give them directions about this song. The guitar player goes left and then he runs across to right side. So you're going to follow him. This guitar player comes this, you know, you give them a certain amount of freedom, but also a certain amount of instructions as to what you want. And the speed of their movement and whether they zoom in and out, or, I mean, I'm not a big fan of zooming in and out. I tend to like the movement to come from the camera or the artist. But it varies, you know, it varies hugely as to what show you're shooting and what band it is.
I guess it's a bit like being a manager of a football team. At the next match, you have to tell the camera which person they're marking.
Yeah.
How that person works.
Yes, and you can, you know, there's lots of different ways of doing it. You can just say, you can do it. I mean, it is like football, actually. You can do it as only where you work in the bit of stage in front of you. So if the bass player comes into the frame, you go with him. If the guitarist goes into the frame, you go with him. Or you can say, you work with the guitar player, so when he goes over there, you follow. You could do either. And sometimes you do a bit of both, and sometimes it's more structured than others. But also you have to remember that the camera operators come in for the shoot day, so they haven't necessarily seen the show.
Yeah.
So they won't instinctively know what's going on. So you've got to tell them what you want and what they've got to capture. But with a show like this, where you're not doing it live to air, the pressure, and you know you've got 2 nights, the pressure is less, because if on night 1 something happens and you don't capture it, you know you've got another go at it, which is always nice.
Well, essentially, yes, but these 2 shows were filmed from different sides. Well, I guess you still get a shot, but you won't get the same shot.
To an extent, they were filmed, but when I said they're filmed from one side and the other, we moved some cameras from left to right and right to left. So the cameras on stage are here and here, and then they move to that side. But there's all, I mean, the three cameras in the pit and the one at front of the house doing the vocal close-up, they stayed the same, because you've always got to make sure you're what we'd call a master portrait shot, which is the camera that sits in the middle that just shoots the star, is always there, because you never know which night the audio is going to come from, and and the chat in between songs is different. So there's certain camera angles that you always have in the same place that you always cover, and then everything else moves around it.
The one camera angle I've been thinking about or wondering was the drum cam. Was that a camera guy, or did you have a camera set up, or like almost a GoPro on stage?
No, it's not a GoPro. It's I'm not sure which camera. I know it's a Blackmagic camera, but it's like a still a DSLR, we call it, which is like the old stills cameras, but these are digital, and they do film. So it's about that size like this. So it's like the size of an old 35mm camera, and you can put it on a stand and you can put it next to the drums. And we had it one night one side and one night the other side, so we moved it across the nights. Yeah, I mean, I love cameras on drums. That was a challenge, because the drum riser is really high, and there's nowhere to hide. It was an interesting show to shoot, because the stage is very deep. Papa's right at the front, and then the guitar players at here, and then there's risers at the back, and the drums. There's quite a lot going on, and it's quite hard. You can't get cameramen on stage without just being in the way. So yeah, so we had 3 cameras that were locked off: one on the drums, one on the keyboards, one on the backing vocals, and we moved them around from night to night to give us different angles.
And you gotta have good batteries to last 2 hours as well. And big memory cards.
Yes. Definitely big memory cards. Were they battery? They may have been mains powered. This is the kind of thing where the grip department do this stuff for you, and they say, the DOP and me go, we want the camera here, and they come in with a clamp and they clamp it on, and there's probably, now there must have been a cable, because I had monitoring them. I could see them, so of course there's a cable.
Oh, okay.
So they had power as well. There you go. So no, they don't need big batteries.
So was that you watching screens as well whilst you're recording?
Yeah. So the way I did that one was, I had all 13 cameras. I think I had 12 cameras that I could see, and there was one that I couldn't see, which I think was just the big lock off, the wide shot. But we positioned it, and then I did a live cut where I cut the cameras, because even if you're going to an edit, you don't really need to do that. But I always find that it helps me as a director to have some sort of cut to work to, so that you give the cameras an impetus. Because if you just look at all the cameras and you don't cut them, I find it just gets a bit pedestrian. Whereas if you're actually cutting and looking at stuff, it means you're more involved in the process.
Okay, you did that live in the show?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it didn't go anywhere. The editor doesn't really bother to look at it. But for my own kind of, it just means it means you're directing the show, and it means you're part of it. Okay. I don't know. Some directors do it, some don't. I find it makes it easier that you're just a bit more involved. Yeah. You're a bit more active in it. You're saying, camera 10, do this. Camera 9, do that. That's great on camera 4. Yeah. I mean, I talk all the time, and camera operators, especially American operators, they're very like, you're hilarious, dude. Because I think American directors are very different, and I like to have I like to have fun when you're doing it, because I think if you're filming something and everyone's having fun filming it, then it comes across. It's if you're not enjoying filming something, it's just a bit of a shame, really. I mean, it's supposed to be fun. The gig's supposed to be fun. audience there having fun, so why shouldn't we enjoy ourselves? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it's fun.
You certainly get that watching it. I kept wanting to stand up and clap after every song. Really felt like I was there.
It's weird watching it in a cinema. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's kind of, especially when it's a gig and it's a big screen and it's loud, and then yeah, it's all a bit polite. But there you go.
Yeah, so yeah, the angles are really good. As we said, 13 cameras all over the place and changing, but also the cutting as well. I don't think there's a cut that's longer than 2 seconds in one place. It changes
Well,
really quick.
yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I always think. I mean, it's very personal the way, or very, what's what I'm looking for? It's people are very opinionated about how stuff gets cut, and it's quite fashionable at the moment. You know, you talk to everyone wants to be cinematic and long, slow shots, and there is stuff like that in there, and there is stuff that's fast, but you have to have a balance because, and I think, you know, we when you start cutting it, the editor tends to go mad, and the first cut he sends me, I'm a bit like, well, it's usually you're a bit like, wow, that's too much, and then you hone it back a bit. So by the time you get to the finished cut, it's slowed down, but you need a bit of pace in places, and it's hard to describe how you do it and why you do it. But I always think if you're watching something and you don't see the cuts, i.e., if you're just watching it and the shots change and you go with it and it makes sense, then it makes sense. And sometimes when you see the cuts and the cuts make you go, oh, then you know something's wrong. Does that make any sense? Again, it's I don't think about these things that hard. I mean, you know, obviously you obviously play guitar, but you know, sometimes when you're playing guitar, you just play stuff. You don't think about what you're going to play. You just do it. And sometimes you do that and something great happens. And sometimes you do it and it's dreadful.
I'm actually a drummer. I just collect instruments.
Well, I only said that because
yeah.
lots of guitars back. But do you know what I mean? You know, sometimes. So I always think, you know, with the speed of the cut, it's difficult because if you cut too slowly, people say it's boring, and if you cut too fast, people say it's too fast. And you need a bit of both. I think you need a bit of dynamics in it. But the way this works, that I think is different to a lot of other stuff I've done, is that, and Tobias again referenced it in the Q&A at the premiere, was that when I sent him what he called the first cut, but it was the third cut we'd done. So I was like, it was the first cut he saw, but it was the third one that I'd been through with the editor. He was like, he sent me an email going, it's great, but there's so much that I'm missing of my show. And I was a bit like, oh, okay. But what he meant was, he was like, you see it differently to me. And actually, when we sat together and went through it and made the changes, it was really, really interesting and collaborative, because he did add a lot of things, a lot of nuances that I hadn't clocked, but without taking the edit to pieces. So it was a good process. It was a good way of doing things. I've not done it with an artist who's been that involved before.
I guess he's probably very meticulous.
Yeah. I mean, you know, he is. Everything is thought about. You know, it's not a surprise that he's as successful as he is, because he's focused, he's driven. You know, the whole Ghost and Papa and everything about it is very clever, and it's brilliantly done. And that doesn't, you know, you don't get to be that brilliant just by, you have to work hard. You know, the successful bands and artists are always hardworking and focused and driven. You know, you don't. When I was a kid, I thought being in a rock band was a way of not having to do any work. That's why I didn't succeed, because I didn't work hard enough.
Were you in a band?
Simple as that. Terrible bands, yes. But I mean, I'm not a very good guitar player at all. But then, you know, my point is that when I got a break in the music industry, I got a job at MTV on Headbangers Ball. I worked ridiculously hard for about, you know, 4 or 5 years. I was stupid hours, weeks and weeks, you know, loads. I travelled and I worked all the hours that God sends, but I absolutely loved it. So it wasn't work. And then looking back, you go, yeah, if I'd put that much effort into, if I practiced guitar playing in that much, I might have been a bit better.
Yeah.
Well, I would have been.
Yeah. So did you work with Sarah Harding?
I did work with Sarah Hardy. Yes. Well, I worked on Headbangers Ball before her, but I worked at VH1 when she was on Headbangers Ball, so we know each other well. But I didn't. Did I work with Sarah? I think we kind of passed. I was on the way out of Headbangers Ball. She came in.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, it was great. I mean, Headbangers Ball was an absolute. I look back and think I should have enjoyed it, and I should have realised how brilliant it was. I should have appreciated it more. But then that's just the stupidity of youth, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Unfortunately, I was too young for that, so I completely missed Headbangers Ball.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
think
yeah. I mean,
anything like
but
it.
I mean, it's that thing you talk about how the world's changed. It was different because it was like when I grew up, there was Top of the Pops,
Mm.
and that was all there was. That and the Arsenal test, and then Headbangers Ball was amazing, but most people didn't have satellite telly, so most people didn't see it.
Nah.
It still, and it was the Wild West in TV world, in that no one at MTV, and I don't mean that unprofessionally, but Vanessa and I just got on with it, and we didn't have to answer to anybody apart from ourselves. No one really managed us because they went, oh, heavy metal, we don't know anything about that. So a lot of the other shows on MTV were curated by a group of people, and they go, we should play this video, we should do this, and we should do that. And Headbangers Ball, they were like, oh, whatever.
Leave you to it.
Obituary. They'd watch the video and they'd be like, geez, it's a bit mad. That's great. We had a huge influence and I think the best thing about it was, looking back, I don't think either Vanessa or I were aware of how influential the show was, in a good way. So we weren't egotistical about it. We just loved music, and we made the best show we could, and we tried to be fair to everybody. And we play Obituary and Poison and Warrant and Death Angel on the same show, which is, you think it was just kind of bonkers, really, but it was great.
Yeah, I think that shows through with anything, really. If you're honest about stuff, you don't have an attitude, you're not pretentious, then people relate to the product a lot better. They can enjoy it more.
Yeah, and I think you have to be, when you're doing those kind of things, you have to be, and maybe, to a great extent, subliminally, I think I learnt about broadcasting. I'm not a broadcaster. I don't do a lot of this, but I learnt about it because as a kid, I listened to the Friday Rock Show religiously, and Tommy Vance loved everything. He never said, he would talk about sax, about Priest. He'd talk about Kansas. He'd talk about, I don't know. Everything was, he was positive about everything. And that's kind of what we did in Headbangers Ball, was he went, because I look at it and go, whatever band you're into, the bands that I think, I won't mention it, but there's bands I think are terrible, but there's people out there that absolutely love them. And there's bands that I love that other people probably think are a bit pants as well. So you have to just be and let your viewers decide, and let the listener decide what's good and what's not. It's not up to you. It's up to you to go, here's what's available. You go and buy it.
That's it, yeah, because just because you don't like it doesn't mean someone else doesn't either as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Stumbling my words there. Yeah, unfortunately, I was too young for a Tommy Vance rock show as well. But I did later on join Total Rock, that was started by Tommy Vance and producer Tony Wilson. And I have learned about the rock show at least, and was listening to it years later.
Tommy was a wonderful human. I loved him. He was a great. I mean, I worked with him at VH1 as well after. So when I left MTV, I didn't produce the Friday Rock Show on VH1 because I'd left to go back to MTV. But I did. His first show on VH1 was The Night Fly, and I used to produce that with him. And it was weirdly, that's probably as big a deal working with Vance as it was as working with any other band, because he was Tommy Vance. Growing up, he was the voice. He was absolutely,
That's it.
I listened to Tommy Vance. Kerrang even existed. We listened to the Friday Rock Show. Then Kerrang, and so journalists and people like Malcolm became important because they were arbiters of taste to a great extent. But prior to that, yeah, Tommy was the only voice of rock. I suppose there might have been some other I don't think there were really. Just that was it. Friday.
Yeah, Alan Freeman had a rock show, but it was more of the softer rock, wasn't there? The heavier stuff, the hard
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. That, but yeah, Tommy was another level.
Yeah, back when all you had was 3 or 4 channels on the TV, and no satellite, and just a few FM stations, I guess, but there's no rock radio at all.
Do you know what? I mean, I've shown my age, but I don't remember anything apart from the old Grey Whistle Test, Friday Rock Show. John Peel did play some stuff. I guess when I was 13, 14, it was the whole new British heavy metal thing happened, and that's the point where Tommy was really influential in championing Saxon and Def Leppard and Maiden. So it was an exciting time to be a kid because there was a real scene, and and I lived in Somerset, Taunton. I was at school in Taunton, and even Diamond Head played there, and Iron Maiden played there. So we even got to see some gigs. We didn't have to go as far as Bristol. We even got some locals. But most bands didn't bother to play Taunton. But there was a period where Ozzy played there, UFO played there, Rory Gallagher, Diamond Head, Iron Maiden. Who else did I see? I mean, in a period of about a couple of years, it was amazing.
You see these posters every now and then go on Facebook feed. It'll be like £2, and you see these bands playing the local concert hall or whatever. And it's not like that at all.
Yeah.
Generally, bands will do 6 dates.
I don't know. I think it's just different, isn't it? Where back then, if you toured a lot, you sold records, you made your money off records. Now, you don't sell records, so you make money off touring, and I think that's harder for bands that are starting out because they don't have the record companies pumping money into them because they're not making money. The model's changed. I don't know quite how it works anymore. We've really got off topic, haven't we?
Well, the topic is still rock and roll in general. You don't need to be
we're
too
definitely
specific. Talking of money, actually, so I hadn't realised that Tobias had actually funded this himself because he couldn't get investors on board. Did you feel any extra pressure about that, being a bit more personal to the person funding it?
No, I mean, yes and no. Yes and no. I mean, I suppose that the thing is, I only dealt with the concert shoot. So, and as I was just directing it, I didn't really get involved in the budget beyond this is how much money we've got, and then talking to the producers and going, this is what I need for cameras. And it's a strange one because when you're directing, when you're producing, you have to deal with all the money showing, oh, can we afford this? Can we afford that? And when you're directing, you just go, I need this, I need that, give me this, give me that. And and it's sort of, as I say, because the camera plot and the basic strategy was there before I started, we kind of just aimed for that and delivered that. So no, I mean, no, did I feel no, I suppose I didn't. I didn't. It sounds arrogant, but I like to think I know what I'm doing. And I don't think it was, if I'll be honest with you, if I shot it the same show again tomorrow, I would do some stuff differently. But most of it wouldn't be that different because, as I said at the beginning, it's a rock show and there's a certain amount of narrative and there's a certain amount of stuff that you just need to cover. There's a certain amount of filming that you need to cover things. You need to make sure you've got a wide shot. You need to make sure you've got a singer. You need to make sure you've got some angles on the drums. And then there's a certain amount of arty playing about that you can do. So it's a bit, it's a bit like a cooking. You've got to have some basic ingredients, and then you can garnish it at the end. But you can't just go in and do the garnish without delivering the steak.
Yeah.
If that makes. Did I feel pressure? No. Only the pressure I put on myself, and that is that as a freelancer, I always think you're only as good as your last job. It's in a bit like being in a band, I suppose. You're only as good as your last album. If you do something that's not very good, people will go, not very good.
Yeah, these fans, I guess. Yeah. Okay. So,
but it wasn't. Also, to be fair, it wasn't live to air, so you know, you sort of know with this thing, if you've done your preparation and you listen to the music and you know what you're calling and you know what cameras are doing what, and you brief your camera crew and you're confident in them, and it's going to an edit, there's an element of it's. I think I said it in the Q&A. You know, when you've got all those ducks in a row, it's hard to fuck it up because you've got 13 cameras. You know, and if the camera operators know what they're doing and you're telling them what's happening and what you want, then they, you know, they're going to hit it.
I guess you're thinking, this is a good recipe for success, having so much footage available that you can use. You don't have all 13 cameras hook up at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I mean there is an element of that, but it's unlikely you get that. But I mean, I don't know, it's difficult because you know, it's when you do something for a living, it becomes certain, you know, second nature to a certain thing. So there's like it's a bit like driving a car. Once you've learned to drive, someone says to you, "What are you doing now?" You're just driving. You're not going. Well, I'm thinking that I'm going to slow down a bit because that's happening. I'm going to change gear. You're just doing what you do. And when you direct concerts, you know that there's a lot of it that just sort of happens. A huge amount of it's in the preparation. You look at where the camera shots are. You know, I tend to with this. As soon as I knew I was doing it, I made a playlist of the set list, and I just listened to it all the time. And I listen to it. I try not to. I mean, every now and again you put another album on, but 90% of the time, whenever you go, what should I listen to? You put your Ghost thing on and you listen to it. So the songs, you know, are in your brain, and you know what's what.
Yeah, so it's second nature.
I'm terrible at remembering the titles of them. I have to write notes.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if you be like, is that Ritual or is that Cerise? But I'd be able to tell you what's going to happen next and what the structure is. Yeah.
Yeah. I get that with playing songs in a set. I used to have to write down on my set list how it starts because there in the moment, the name doesn't tell me what we're playing. I'd have to write like boom boom chat or roll or
yeah. Sometimes a little. Sometimes I quite often and write little notes about what the riff reminds me of. So Rats, I think I can't remember what it was. Rats, I think I put 80s for Rats because that riff is quite 80s-ish. You know, and then you think, oh, it's that one, yeah.
When it starts, when it kicks in, yeah. What would you put for 20s? Was that be obvious?
Well, 20s was, yeah. I mean, but then 20s kind of, it's easy because the song title of that is really. Yeah. I mean, I know, you know, music goes with actually the title tells you what the music's like, and we had the dancers in it, so that was hard. You know, that and Carb were never going to be ones I was going to forget because they had the dancers in. Which was when he said was nervous. That was probably the bit I was. Yeah, there was times that I was nervous for those two, and I was nervous for If You Have Ghost because those three songs were different. Like they'd never had dancers before, and If You Have Ghost had never been done on the tour. That was the first time they'd done it in that way. So there was a bit of me going, you know, this is. I've got to get this. You got to get it right. You've got to capture this right, because the other songs I sort of knew what to capture. These ones I was thinking, if I miss something on this, if I don't see something, I'm not going to know. But I talked to the choreographer, I talked to Jonas obviously about it. And so actually, you know, 20s and Dance Macabre were okay because on the main stage. The most difficult one for me was If You Have Ghosts, because it was on the B stage and the cameras were all in the wrong place, really. Because everything else is around the main stage. So you've got fewer cameras, and Papa walked around in a circle constantly, performed to all three sides, as of course he would, because he's in the round. But it just meant it's hard for vocal shots and close-ups because he quite often sings towards the camera and then turns away.
Right. Yeah, which
I don't know. I mean,
it is mentioned to you the 13 cameras for the main stage, but yeah, how many cameras for the B stage?
Well, it was the same number of cameras. I just had to move some cameras around. So what was the big wide shot became a close-up. One of the handheld cameras became a close-up. I mean, we moved stuff between the nights and the handhelds moved. So it was tricky because there was probably 4 or 5 cameras I'm trying to think, so I'm counting. So that actually probably 7 cameras, 6 cameras, 6 or 7 cameras that were not useless, but weren't that useful, because the 3 at the front of the stage turned round and could only do wide shots. And obviously the camera that's at front of house, right next to the stage, he was in the way because he's on a platform at front of house. So he was great for close-ups of if you have ghosts because he's turned round, but all the wide shots he was stood in the way. So it was tricky. And again, you know, I hadn't seen it until we got to the forum. So we didn't have a lot of rehearsal time on it. And you can only move cameras so quickly and so efficiently. But I was pleased when I watched it in the premiere, because I've not seen it since I sent the edits to the New York for Alex to stick it all together. What, 6 weeks before, and I deliberately didn't watch it. And then you see it in the premiere and you go, oh yeah, that was nice. It worked well. Yeah. So yes, I was a bit nervous on that one. There you go. Sound like less of an egotistical arse.
But yeah, it came off well. Well, on both stages, it came off well. I said about the quick edits for the main stage. I think that just shows you how much is happening, what's going on, and that is a lot to absorb. And I think what's also good about that is it means you can watch this on DVD 40, 50 times, and every time you're still going to see something new because it moves so quick. You can't absorb everything at once. So it's got longevity.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. It's very difficult because, you know, you're making something for a lot of formats, and if you watch it on a big screen and then you watch it on your phone, it's a different experience. You know, fast cuts sometimes work better on a small screen, sometimes work better on a big screen. Sometimes it's really hard to predict. So you have to kind of have a balance. And I think, you know, again, one of the things that was great was that when I went through it all with Tobias, he measured it and slowed it down. He came in with an overview. So it's that thing of him letting me do my job, and then him sprinkling his magic and his vision on it. It's good. I've never spent that much time in an edit with the actual artist.
I was going to ask that, whether he came to you or you were sending files, because file sending.
Did it remotely? Yeah. I sent him a file of the edit, and then we did a Zoom like this where he could see me and the editor, and we did it. So we weren't in the same room, but we spent 2 weeks probably. Yeah, it was 2 weeks. We spent 2 weeks going through it all, which is in my world is quite a long time to spend doing changes, but a much more productive and a much nicer experience than getting a list of, I don't like this shot, change that, do something. Because often you get notes that are just kind of like, this shot doesn't work, and then when you change that shot, it has an impact on the shot before and after. And when you're doing that with someone, they can see it, and you go, well, if you change that one, then 2 shots time. Oh, okay. So again, it's I wouldn't say it's complicated, but often, you know, if you pick a specific shot and go, let's change that, you go, all right, we'll change camera 4 to camera 6, but then camera 6 is 2 shots on, so you then watch it and go, it goes 6. Oh, hang on, it goes back to, yeah, doesn't work. It not doesn't work, but it just changes. It ripples down.
Yeah, it ripple effect. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but
that makes sense.
It was a real joy to have that level of, and again, I think, you know, you get to the end of it and you go, he's put the time and the effort in. He really likes what we've done.
Yeah.
Whereas sometimes you make change and you don't know whether they've watched it all or just gone, okay, you know, it's good. It was really good.
Yeah, at least if he's sat there essentially with you, you know, he's paying attention. So in terms of cuts, was there stuff you dropped, and was there stuff that Tobias kicked out?
Not really. I mean, what I did was I cut the whole concert from start to finish, and I left the bits between songs long. We did trim the chats between songs, but fundamentally we cut the whole show, and we sent that to America. And Alex then, with Tobias, I mean, I wasn't involved in that part of it. They then filmed all the narrative bits and stuck it all together. So they did. There was a few. They trimmed a few bits, but it's not a lot, to be honest. Not a lot. I mean, it's pretty much all in. When Papa goes backstage in, I'm trying to think, in Year Zero or whatever, you can hear the music. It's kind of real time.
Yeah.
So I don't think they cut much out. I mean, you know, the only song they took out, as it were, from the live performance was Mary on a Cross, because it's got the animation. But I don't think. I mean, again, the thing that I thought was great when I watched it was well, the reason I was happy, I was watching it going, this is what I made. This is what I made, and then they've added their bits to it. And sometimes you send a thing off, or not that often, but sometimes you send something off and it comes back and you go, that's not what I did. I mean, Alex said they changed a few shots in and out of, you know, a few transition shots between Kappa being on stage and being off stage. They changed, but I don't think they changed much.
Oh, wow. Well, I guess if he's in the editing room with you sorting all that stuff, he wouldn't need to do much more. He's already done it.
You'd hope not. You'd hope not. But again, when you stitch things together, and when you add, and you know, when you edit things in and out of a concert, it changes things. Sometimes you do have to change stuff. But I mean, you know, when I filmed the concert, I knew I had the script from Tobias and Alex, so I knew roughly what the narrative was and where it was going to go. It's not exactly what they changed it and they added some bits in, but I knew roughly what was going to happen. So it wasn't a huge surprise what they did. No. Not what they did, but what was done, because it was very planned. So yeah.
Which one thing that wasn't planned was the shoe malfunction, which is a very nice touch to leave in. So for those who won't have seen the Q&A, that wasn't planned, but it was kept in, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, again, for me, that just happened. You know, that just happens in front of the cameras, and I film it. And at the time it's happening, I have no idea whether it's going to stay in the film or not. But I think it was nice that it did. But yeah, at the time it's happening, I'm just filming it, because you don't stop and think, well, this is wrong, you know, because you film what happens in front of you. And you know, it's that. I mean, I've done it a few times where a band will perform a song again if they've fluffed it up. Very rare. To be fair, that's more sort of TV studio stuff. But so you just, you know, once the show starts, you follow them. And if, you know, you don't have, as the director of a concert film, you don't have the power to go, right, let's do that again. Let's do that again. You know, you're filming an event, it starts and it finishes, and you have to capture it, and you just go with it. So when the shoe went wrong, I filmed the shoe going wrong.
Yeah, it added a nice, human, relatable touch to the film. And obviously, people who are very into feeling close to the characters, it helps them feel closer. That malfunction can happen.
I mean,
an idol.
Yeah, I mean, if I can, I'd be interested to ask you as a fan, or your thoughts on. I mean, the two things that, not so much a question, but the two things that struck me about filming the band and filming Papa was that not having phones was a joy. It really was. I mean, that was not my idea. It was when they went, should we? And then, like, if you can do it without phones, it's amazing. But I think you've got to give huge credit to the fans, because in the way that they're always part. You know, if the band are good and the fans are good, you get a good concert film. But the effort that Ghost fans go to dress up and be part of the show, I think makes a difference. I think it's more than just metal or rock fans turning up, popping a t-shirt on.
Yeah. Yeah, because generally the most involved you can get is a mosh pit, which is pretty generic. But yeah, dressing up, you're becoming part of the ceremony.
But I think it's a really valid point. I think if you look at the best concert films, they're generally speaking these days. I mean, in the old days, you never saw the audience because they didn't have lights. Like if you watch Some Remains the Same, you can't see any audience ever, because it's always just a little stage and a big black hole. But if you watch something like AC/DC at River Plate, the audience are amazing. That makes that show. And I think I think the ghost audience on this were great. They were entertaining on camera, and they look great, and they're really into it. They really care.
Yeah, there's a great shot, which I think it might have been of one fan dressed up as a nun and she was crying. It was captured so beautifully. That's really good.
Again, I mean, it's lovely you say captured so beautifully, but I think with that sort of thing, you put that in front of a camera. It's her, not the camera, not us. It's the fact that they're really losing their shit and enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
In the same way that you could have a beautifully framed, beautifully lit shot of someone looking bored, and they would look bored. You wouldn't go, "Oh, it's a lovely shot of that bloke yawning," because the bloke's yawning. Well, so the content, what you're filming, is more important than how you're filming it, and the fact that she is what makes it work.
Did you have a camera specific for crowd, or was it just?
I had a handheld camera that kind of roved about, and it's difficult filming audiences because you can only get to certain places, and you can't show the same people again and again. I mean, there are people that you see more than once, but once you've seen someone twice, audience-wise, I think as a viewer, you're like, I've seen that.
Yeah.
So once or twice you can do it, and if you see them when they're going and then they're singing, you can do 2 or 3 shots. But once you get beyond that, it's a bit like it gets repetitive. So that's a job that the cameramen, I'm constantly going, move on. I've seen them. Show me someone else. And you can hear them kind of going, I don't know, where do you want me to go? The front row's only so long. And then they get in the audience and find people, but digging in amongst the audience when they're trying to watch a concert, it's hard work. It's a real skill.
Yeah, that was a good element as well. Which I don't. It's a standard thing to do, is just capture a bit of the crowd, but it is actually for Ghost quite important because the fan base is so cult and dedicated that it is because of the dressing up, it is part of the story. But it's good to capture that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So really, I've also asked some fans questions as well, which is. Some have come in as anything funny that's cut, or any extras for DVD, or any bloopers. But we know a blooper's been kept in.
Yeah. Gosh, I mean, I don't know what there isn't. I mean, there isn't much. I mean, obviously there's a cut of Mary on the Cross that isn't shown in the film because we filmed that song, but it's obviously covered with the animation. No, I mean, I feel a bit of a fraud saying no, it was all very smooth, but there wasn't much. No, there wasn't much. There wasn't much shenanigans. There wasn't much. There weren't many problems. No, I'm trying to think of any. It was technically it was a really smooth shoot. And I think because the band play well and sing well, it didn't feel like it was hard to film. Some bands and some shows, you look at it and you think, there's not a lot going on. It's quite it's quite a static show, or it's not very dynamic. And that's in this case, it's just not. I suppose the only thing that I was aware of that I thought was potentially difficult, but actually I don't think was that normally when you're shooting stuff, you're trying to get a connection with the band or the performers. And in the case of Ghost, there's only one person eyes you ever see, and that's Papa. The rest of them, they are faceless, nameless ghouls, aren't they? Of course. So trying to get a reaction and a personality from them, I thought, is that going to be difficult? But actually, they look at camera and you engage with them in a different way. So it wasn't a problem, I don't think. And I think spending however long it was, 4 or 5 days with the band, I look at it and go, I can see the personalities behind the mask in the footage. So I think they're definitely there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's just odd. It's odd to shoot people and not see their eyes or their mouths.
Yeah, because
it's quite
a key thing, isn't it? You need to be able to see the whites of the eyes.
Yeah.
Which occasional you might see it with the ghouls. Certainly the older masks, which had eye holes. These have lenses though, which are glossed over with black. Yeah. But it's I don't know if it's probably a requirement for a member joining Coast that they have to be very active on stage. But also, I don't know if you've ever dressed up in costume for Halloween or anything, but when you have a mask on, you feel like you're a different person and you have less inhibitions.
I think,
a bit more.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, I mean, I don't know that side of it at all. I couldn't be certain, but yeah, certainly. But equally, when you say, you're a different person, they're different. They're not. They are still who they are off stage. There's still an element of who they are off stage on stage.
Okay.
In terms of who's the most showy and who's the most, the way they perform it is, yeah. But I guess yes, if no one knows who you are, you can be a bit more flamboyant. I suppose it depends how shy you are. But equally, if you're schooled enough and you've spent enough time learning to play the guitar and be in a rock band, you're probably not going to be that shy, are you? Like if you don't want to be on stage, you're not going to try out for a rock band and try and be a rock star, are you? Probably. I wouldn't have thought anyway.
So you said there you had 4 or 5 days. Was that for this film?
No, that was. I mean, we had. There was a day of rig. There was a couple of days of rehearsals for the dance that I went to, and the band came to some of those. So there's those 2 days. There was a rig day, and then there was 2 shoot days. So I'd seen the band in Denver as well. So I guess I was around them for 4 or 5 days. Yeah, which is more than you often get. Most concerts you don't go to dance rehearsals because it's been rehearsed previously. So you see the show maybe once, twice. You film it and then you go home.
And something that has come up a lot talking with other people when they've seen the film. Some people say there was an extra day for filming close-ups and stuff like that. Was there another day of filming? Is that something you can say if there was?
Yeah, we did do some extra stuff. I mean, some of that was narrative stuff as well, but we did do some extra stuff. Yeah.
And the biggest question which comes with that is those splits at the end, the jump and the splits, the Van Halen move.
Yeah.
Was that live?
Yes.
It was live, really. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, we did it live. Yeah, we did it live.
Wow. Some people think it's a stand-in. to jump that high.
I mean, it looks like him, doesn't it? It looks like it happened, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't be. He's very fit.
Exactly.
You're touring, you've got good health with you.
He runs a lot. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I think that's pretty much everything. I think that's covered everything I've thought of and the questions we've been sent in. Actually, I did miss it. Was there something here, or rather something there, that you, like Tobias, wasn't interested in and didn't want, that you strongly wanted to keep and it worked out really well?
I'm sorry, I don't think there was really. I mean, when we were doing the changes, there were times when he went, we could change this, we could change that. I don't remember there ever being a point where we got grumpy with each other. No. I mean, I think you have to be pragmatic and grown up about it. And if Tobias hadn't sat and gone through stuff in the edit, would it have been different? Yeah, but he, there was. I don't remember at any point where I went, "Oh, you can't do that. That's horrible. No, don't do that." Because most of it was about the choreography and the flow of the show, and what the little nuances between him and guitar, him and the girls that I'd missed. So no, I don't think there was really. It was a very pleasant process.
Yeah. So I guess the flip side of that, was there something that wasn't dropped that you would have liked to have been dropped?
No, not really, but only because I cut the whole thing and left the kind of what stayed in and what, I cut all the songs and all the stuff in between the songs, and kind of went, Alex and Tobias took that away and created the rest of the film around it. So it was never really in my mind what to drop and what not to drop. I mean, it's interesting in a way. It's interesting. Not in a way, it is an interesting question because when I've made concert films before, sometimes the band will go, "Oh, it needs to be about 90 minutes, so we should take out this song, we take out that song," and I'm always a bit like, "Well, I don't know." And I think when you're making a concert film, you've got to make it for the people that love the band and hope that people that are mildly interested or might like the band a bit watch it and get into it. So if you take a song out, then everyone's like, "Oh, why did they take that song out? They should leave it in." So it's a weird one because for a concert film it's quite long, but my take on it is, well, that was the show, so that's what you guys want to see. You don't want me to take out a song. Oh, we took Rats out because it was a bit long. And you're like, yeah, but Rats is my favorite. Someone will go, Rats is my favorite song. Someone else will go, oh, you took out Spillways. What would you do that for? Or whatever. You can't. I've never quite understood the thought process behind. We'll make a concert film. We'll make it shorter because it's too long to watch. It's like, well, if it's too long to watch in the cinema, is it not too long to see? Yeah, I don't know. So no, I mean, I think as a director, you cut a concert and you never want to take anything out. And to a song, if I had to pick a song to take it out, I don't know because my favourite song might not be your favourite song. And I'm sure there's certain songs that everyone's going to pick as favourites, like Square Hammer and things, the big hits. But would you want to do? I don't know. Would you want to take something out of it?
No, certainly not the video at least. But they've had to with the soundtrack release. All songs have been cut. Did you know that?
Have they? I haven't looked at that yet.
Yeah. So there's been no statement about it. My guess is that obviously you can only fit so many songs on a vinyl, and so it would have to be 3-disc vinyl, which obviously adds up the costs. I thought maybe still that would. The digital release, they would still be there, but apparently the track listing for digital is still missing those 4 tracks.
I genuinely had no idea. I mean, I'm sure there's reasons for it, but I'm the video guy, not the audio guy. I don't know.
But they are in the film at least.
But when they release the video in whatever digital format, it'll be there at that point.
And do you know
and you see, I didn't even know there was a new.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't even know there was a new song at the end.
Oh, really?
Until I watched it in the cinema, and I was like, oh, I don't know this song. And I was thinking, is this because I don't know everything about Ghosts. I don't know every song. And I was like, no, I don't know this song. I've never heard this before. Yeah. It was good. So it was nice to watch it. There was quite a few because I'd not seen any of the narrative either. I genuinely haven't seen anything apart from the bits I'd cut. So all the behind the scenes stuff, all the narrative of Papa, all the everything. I was going to say specific things, but I won't in case people haven't seen it yet. I hadn't seen it, so it was weird to watch something that you've sort of made but haven't made.
Yeah, I was going to say it's
because normally as a producer or director, I would have been there through every stage of it. So by the end of it, I wouldn't say I'm sick of it, but by the end of it, you've seen it, you know what's coming up. So from that point of view, watching it on the premiere was probably more fun than usual because you don't know what's going to happen next. Well, you do, but you don't.
You've got an outline.
Yeah, I knew roughly I knew what songs were going to come up, but again, I didn't know whether they'd shortened things, taken stuff out. I didn't. Yeah,
that's a nice surprise.
Yeah, it was good. It was excellent. I loved it.
Nice. Okay, so what's next for you? Who are you working with? What's coming up?
At the moment, I'm doing a concert in 2 or 3 weeks time. I'm producing this, not directing it, in Tuscany for Andrea Bocelli, which is a big celebration of 30 years of Andrea Bocelli in an outdoor arena in Tuscany with lots of guests I can't tell you about, which is different. I can tell you, Tobias is Papa's not coming. Well, not that I know of anyway.
Do you mean,
so I'm doing that. Yeah. I mean, it's a big concert. There's a lot of classical stuff because he's a classical singer, obviously, and then there's guest artists coming of note. I can't say who, but there's a lot of guest artists. So a bit, and it's 3 shows over the course of a week, so it's gonna be pretty good. It's gonna be pretty intense. And that's been directed by a guy called Sam Bench, who did the Taylor Swift show of last year or whatever that sold a gazillion seats in a gazillion theatres everywhere. So it'd be good. It'd be good. And then after that, I don't know. I mean, stuff comes along. I could be super busy or not that busy. You just never know. You know, I might get a phone call tomorrow saying, "Will you come and film this band?" Or I might not. It's you know, it's a weird industry. It comes and goes.
Have you got
And people who know.
Have you got a dream artist that you'd love to record?
Well, I mean, I've been really lucky when you think I've worked, and I've done download a few times as well. So even though I haven't filmed specifically, I've kind of worked with, you know, if you told me it's 15 or 16 or 18, say 18, that I would work with Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, Anthrax, Iron Maiden, you know, all these people, my little 18-year-old head would have exploded. But at the moment, who would I love to? I would love to shoot Tool.
Oh.
How I would do it, because I've seen their last two tours, and they don't, you know, Maynard doesn't like lights on him, and he stands at the back of the stage, and but they're just amazing shows. I'd love to shoot them because I think it's an incredible. I mean, it might be a really impossible show to shoot because it's weird. You sort of have to be there. There's a lot of great, there's a lot of great visuals, and the music's amazing, but there's no IMAG, there's no, you know, there's no shots of the band in the screens. It's all content and graphics and stuff. So it's interesting. I'd love to shoot them. Who else? And then, I mean, two bands that I love who, you know, I would just love to shoot because I love the music. Armored Saint, because I always loved them. And Last in Line, because I am a Vivian Campbell obsessive from Dio through his stuff with Shadow King, and I love Last in Line. I think they should be the biggest band in the world, but they never will be. But I mean, obviously they're riding on the coattails of Dio, but their three records I think are just brilliant records. Anyone else I'd like to show? I mean, you know, it's that funny thing, you know. You give me any. I like shooting bands, so I'd love to shoot almost anybody. But those, Armored Saint, I would love to shoot. Nice. I don't think there's any. I mean, I don't mean to rude it. I don't. It's not like they're a ghost type band where there's an incredible show to shoot. I just think they're hugely underrated, and they've written some brilliant riffs and great songs.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Bush is great, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, there must be lots of other bands, but I don't know. I wish I'd done Rush. That's why I would love to done Rush, but it was never to be. Yeah.
Excellent. Right. Well, I think that covers everything apart from my most important question. What's your favourite flavour of cheesecake?
Strawberry, I would think. Well, but it's kind of vanilla with a strawberry sauce. Yeah. Because cheesecake is basically cheesecake, and then it's what you put on it. So I would say it's sort of a basic, you know, your vanilla cheesecake with strawberry sauce. Yeah, definitely.
I'm glad you clarified. I was going to ask, would that be real strawberries or just the puree?
I could have half the strawberry on it and the puree, or I could have, yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of cheesecake. So I should say my favourite cheesecake is the one that my daughter Mimi made for Father's Day about 3 years ago. It was absolutely banger. It was amazing.
I've never tried making it. I wouldn't want to ruin it.
I don't know where she got the recipe, but it was amazing. It was amazing.
There we go. That's a common answer, actually. Someone would say their mother's cheesecake. It doesn't matter the flavour, the one.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Yeah, Mimi, my daughter. I don't know. She made an absolute cracker.
Well, Mimi.
But you know, I think, but it's you know, those things are interesting because I'm a fan of cheesecake, cheap cheesecake. You know, like, I don't want to be rude about Co-op, but you know, your basic bog standard cheesecake as well as kind of high end cheesecake. Yeah. There's a time and a place for everything, isn't there? A McDonald's is great, as is, you know, a gourmet Michelin starred restaurant.
Yeah, my favourite cheesecake is just New York plain.
Yeah, plain's always good. Can't go wrong.
Yeah, same with pizza, margarita. You can get margarita.
I like a margarita, but equally, I'm not averse to pineapple on pizza.
No, me either.
No, you're not having that.
No, I like it.
Yeah, but some people would be absolutely horrified at that. But I don't mind. You know, I wouldn't choose it every time. But you know, if someone said, "Do you want a bit of pizza?" But I'd be like, "Yeah, all right, ham and pineapple, go for it. Why not?"
Yeah, do you want tuna and pineapple?
Oh no, I'm not a big fan of fish.
I'm not. But you know, that's
Yeah.
not a bad one to try. I've been told peach on a pizza, chocolate Nutella goes very well together. I'm not trying it.
Maybe. When I was doing that Shakira DVD, we did some editing in Miami, and we went to a pizza place that was recommended by one of the local camera or one of the local edit house we were working at. One of the guys that worked there, and they did a coffee pizza, which was a pizza with coffee grind on it, and it was actually quite good. I know, I thought the same, but you know, you kind of go, you've got to try it. It's amazing, and you think, is it really? But it was quite good. Yeah, it was a thing. So if you're ever in Miami, coffee pizza, I can't remember what the place is called, but there you go.
Okay, was it like instant coffee or ground beans?
No, I think it was ground. It can't have been instant coffee. That would be revolting. I think it was. It must have been coffee grinds. It must have been like, you know, your ground coffee sort of sprinkled over it. There wasn't tons of it. It wasn't like, you know,
Okay.
it was like saturated, but it was all right. It was quite nice actually.
Okay. What? Just margarita or anything?
I think the rest of it, yeah, I think it was a margarita with a bit of coffee on it.
I'm gonna have to try that.
I mean, I think it was one of those you kind of look back and go, it was all right. It was interesting, but it didn't blow my mind. But if you're in Miami, I'd go, yeah, go and find this trendy pizza place that does coffee pizza because you can.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Cool. Oh, thank you. That was very insightful. And thank you so much for talking to me and telling us about making the movie. And yeah, it's a great film. Congratulations to you as well. I know Tobias gets obviously a lot of congratulations, but it's his idea, but you're one of the people who's made it. So well done. It's really cool.
It's just, I mean, for me, it's just, I'm really pleased at how successful it's been and how much people like it. You know, whenever you film a concert, you want people to like it, and the reviews have been great, and you know, the box office is bonkers. So happy day. I mean, you know, I think it's that thing, you know, with concert films, you sort of know that people that love the band, like when people say to me, "What's the best concert film you made?" It goes, "Well, what's your favourite band?" And they go, "I love Metallica." And you go, "Well, you'll probably like the Metallica film." And if they go Depeche Mode, they go, "You probably like the Depeche Mode one." And if they said JLS, you go, "Well, I've done," you know. So if you don't like the band, you know, you're not going to like the film. But so I think, you know, the fact that this has done so well beyond what people expected shows that that the fans like it, but it's also crossed over elsewhere, which is, you know, I guess like when Tobias and Papa make albums, they want to sell more than the last one. They want more people to like it. So hopefully, it's a stepping stone to their well, I thought it would be a stepping stone for their continued success. I've no idea what's going to happen next. I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't. I know as much as you do at the end of the film. I went, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, can you? You can't.
Yeah.
Cool. To know what's next. What happens next?
So, good luck for the next filming. It's going to be hot as well, obviously. Italy in the summer.
Yeah, it will be. Thank you.
But I guess that'll be evening time, so it won't be too bad.
No, it'll be fine. It'll be warm, but it won't be difficult. But thank you, sir. And yeah, lovely to meet you.
Yeah, you too. Maybe we'll cross paths. I've still got some mutual friends on Facebook.
Yeah, you know when and where this is going as well, just so I can see it.
I will do, absolutely. I might even upload it tonight.
Excellent. All righty. Well, see you again. Yeah. Take care.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers. Bye.
Thanks, mate. See you soon. Cheers, man.